This is the Shoulda Bet More podcast, presented by Gold Boys Network. Here's your host, Will Hill.
Welcome to the Shoulda Bet More podcast, presented by Gold Boys. Coming up on the show, Gill Alexander will join us, and we will discuss Game 3, Knicks and Pacers. We have a series, the Knicks, with a tremendous comeback. I guess you could say you're even now after you blew Game 1. You stole one in Game 3. And the Knicks pull within 2-1, and we've got two series here. I mentioned on the Friday show I wasn't going to talk about OKC Minnesota until Minnesota gave me a reason. Well, Minnesota gave me a reason, gave us a reason on Saturday with a dominant performance. But Knicks and Pacers, where we start. Pacers are 2.5-point favorites for Game 4, and the long, exciting series we were expecting. We may just finally get it. Tremendous win by the Knicks. I mean, that's as good a win as you can have. As bad as Game 1 was, Game 3 was outstanding. Down 56-37, I believe, was as big as it got in terms of the deficit. And that was 2 minutes left in the half. Indy is up 18 at the line. Nesmith to shoot 2. Splits the free throws, 19 instead of 20. No big deal. Pacers in good shape, building going crazy. Pacers about to be up 3-0, but instead of going into the half up 20 or up 22, it's only 13 at the half. A quiet little, and Reggie Miller, give him credit. Not my favorite announcer, but give him credit. He's done a pretty good job, I think, of staying neutral here, even though you know deep down he's rooting for the Pacers. He's got to be rooting for the Pacers. Knicks cut it to 13, and Miller, Reggie did a good job of pointing that out. He's like, I don't like this run from a Pacers standpoint. This is the Pacers are basically playing with their food a little bit. And Van Gundy, by the way, is very good on these games. Miller's okay, but Van Gundy's very good. Harlan's okay. I think Harlan's a little overrated. I prefer Ian Eagle, not just because he's a friend of the show, but Harlan's okay. Van Gundy's very good. But that 13-point deficit at the half, chip away, and it got back up to 16, 18 in that range. But the Knicks, 80-70, 80-73, and you look up and Towns is going crazy. Before you know it, it's 82-79. The Knicks pull ahead. It looked like the Knicks maybe would pull away in the fourth quarter and win the game. And boy, a few calls here. I was going to, just in my notes here, a few of the calls, but I don't even know which one to start with because there was a Brunson. First of all, there was a Halliburton Towns one in the first. I thought that was shaky, where I thought Halliburton fouled first. They reversed it, got another foul on Towns. Towns was horrible for the first half. Foul trouble, not good. Saw his minutes decline in Game 3. Or in Game 2, he only played 28 minutes. And then it's funny because his point prop was 21.5. He went into the fourth quarter with 6 points. If you have the under, you're thinking, all right, easy money. This one's a lock. He comes alive and goes well over the point prop. Just a monster fourth quarter. 3-pointers, dunks. Not my favorite player, but this is a big time performance by Towns. Rebounds, offensive, shots when you need them. He was outstanding. But like I said, the calls were all over the map. There was I thought could have been an offensive foul on Brunson, which is hard to feel bad for Brunson because Brunson gets away with all this crap on offense where he uses your leverage against him. He's bumping into people and he's falling around. So I forget the offensive player, but Brunson gets basically, now his feet weren't squared, but he basically gets run over where the offensive player dips the shoulder in and knocks him over. They called that a defensive foul. That was Brunson's 5th. Brunson sat for a long time in the fourth quarter of this game. Thibodeau, I thought, left him maybe on the bench too long, but he comes up with a clutch bucket at the end. And and this was one play that stuck out to me, 98-96, Bridges has, I think, a clear path to the basket. You think he's going to dunk it. There's maybe 90 seconds left in the game. I'm recording this right after. So, just going off memory here, 98-96, I know that was the score, and Bridges is going to the basket, 90 or so seconds left. Instead of dunking the ball or going up and probably at least getting fouled, if not getting maybe a dunk and one, he kind of goes around the basket, under the basket, kicks it out for a 3, and eventually they end up with a bad shot and don't score. Pacers tied on the other end. Man, that was a chance to go up 4, maybe 5. With only a little time left, but none of it mattered. Knicks made shots when they needed to. The Turner 3 goes in and out when it's a 2-point game with about 19 or so seconds left. Knicks make their free throws. Knicks inbound the ball, and it is now 2-1. I'll be honest, I did not see this coming. I was getting ready to record early when the Pacers are up 16, 18 points. I had all my stats ready about teams that are up 3-0. How many teams in NBA history have forced a Game 7 down 3-0? which is 4, by the way. The 51 Knicks, the 94 Nuggets, the 2003 Mavs Blazers series went from 3-0 to a game 7. And then 2 years ago, the Celtics and the Heat, with the Celtics almost pulling that off. But nobody's ever come from 3-0 down in the NBA. And still, nobody has come down. Maybe it'll happen in the finals. Maybe it'll happen next year, but not in this series. We're not getting to a 3-0 in either of these series. Just a tremendous, tremendous win by the Knicks. Pacers, like I said, 2.5-point favorites for game number 4 on Tuesday night, 8 o'clock Eastern. Total 222.5. And the series price now down to Indiana minus 220, Knicks plus 180. That's at DraftKings. So thought it was Knicks in 7 coming in. I mean, if he gave me true serum before game 3, I'm not sticking to it. I thought, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't think the Knicks could go down without a fight. And it's interesting. I always talk about how if you're the lower seed, being down 3-1 is not the worst thing in the world. It's not the death sentence is if you're the lower seed where, 5's on the road, 7's on the road. So even if the Knicks lose game 4, and I don't have a feel for it yet, I mean, it's very hard. This is an all over the place series. Road team is 3-0. You always hear the expression, a series doesn't start until the home team wins a game. Well, when does the series start if a home team never wins a game? I guess the road team wins it in 7. I guess that's what we're on base for. I guess I would pick the Knicks. I don't know. I've lost a feel for this series. I really have. I don't have much of a feel for this series here. It's just been so all over the map. But I do think we're looking at, I mean, we know we're going back to the Garden now for a game number 5. I would think we get at least a 6. And I'll say we still get a 7. And if it goes 7, I like the Knicks. So, the Pacers pulled this last year down 2-0 and won it in 7. The Knicks looking to return the favor. And the similarities are pretty remarkable because the Pacers were not only down 0-2 last year, they had a chance to, or the Knicks had a chance to go up 3-0, just like Indiana did. I remember that game, doing that. It was a Friday night, middle of May, second round of the playoffs. So a little earlier than this time of year, a little before Memorial Day. Knicks were up 8-10, I want to say, third quarter in that game 3 last year. And if they go up 3-0, you think it's over. They lost that. They got murdered on Mother's Day on that Sunday. And then these teams just swapped 5 and 6. Everyone won on home court until game 7 last year, which is another interesting thing. Last year, it was a home court series all the way until game 7 when Indy stole it. This year, it's been all road teams, and the Knicks have been a great, great road team this postseason. 6-1 on the road, but they haven't played well at home. 3-5 at home. So home court has not mattered. I think I mentioned before the series, I think home court's going to hold up in this series. Not the case. So the Knicks, just a tremendous win. Absolutely outstanding win. If I had to take it or lay it, I guess I would take the 2.5 again. Don't bet this based on what I think for game 4 because I've lost all feel for this series. When the home team can't win a game, I mean, the home court has been in the past a little bit, especially when the teams are pretty even. It has been a North Star in terms of a tiebreaker. This is just out the window. And I've heard this a lot before. Games, Pacers are just better. Pacers are much better. The Pacers are not much better than the Knicks. These are very comparable teams. Maybe give a slight edge to Indy, but very comparable teams. There's a reason the Knicks were the 3 seed, the Pacers were the 4 seed. So buckle up. Let's see if we can get a game 6, a game 7. I'm hoping for it. It was looking like late Friday night when the Knicks lost to the Pacers in game 2, and you head into Friday, Saturday, you head into the weekend. You're thinking, man, the finals doesn't start till Thursday, June 5th. No matter what, we could be looking at 2 sweeps, maybe 2 5-game series, and I guess we could still get 2 5-gamers, but we're getting at least 5, and I do think we're going to get some action here in terms of some deeper series. We'll see here with Minnesota. If they can push the envelope here in game number 4, they're getting 3.5 in Minnesota, a dominant win in game 3. I did not see that coming. And you always hear this. I say this a lot. These series can look very different when home court switches up. When you switch venues, these series can often look different. And there's a reason that cliche exists that the series doesn't start until a home team loses a game because that Minnesota OKC series looked one way in OKC, and it looked a whole different way in Minnesota. I picked OKC in 6 before the series. I did not feel great about that going into game 3. I thought, I overshot it. Maybe 4, maybe 5, but 6 is obviously on the table. I'll take the 3.5 with Minnesota. Again, not a confident bet. Wouldn't be shocked if OKC just brushes that off and wins game number 4. But this home court road splits thing with OKC has become a real issue because they did not play well at all really on the road this postseason. Both games against Memphis, they had to squeak out. Remember the night of the draft, they were down big, had to come back, rally, win that game, down 25 or so in the second half. Game 4 against Memphis, they barely eke out 13, 14-point favorites. They only won it by a couple points. Then the games in Denver, they lost 2 out of 3, and the one they won, what they needed, they were down 2-1 a couple Sundays ago, but they were down 71-63 in Game 4, rallied, won that, but they lost the other two. They lost Game 3 in overtime that Friday night, and then the Game 6 Thursday night in Denver, and then they got absolutely run out of the building here Saturday night in Game 3. So they have not covered a road game in the playoffs against the spread. So Minnesota plus 3.5, a small bet, not a confident bet. It's been a strange postseason. It's been a really good postseason. It's been a really good postseason. I'm glad we're going to get these series extended at least to 5. We'll see if Minnesota can push it any further than that. I think Knicks Pacers got a good shot to go at least 6+ here, with the series guaranteed to go back to New York. So no reason to rush these series. Once these series end, it's a long time to football. I know baseball's still around. We got other things to talk about, but I've enjoyed these playoffs. They've been unpredictable. They've been fun, and they will continue in this conference round at least a game longer on each side. So we'll see what games 4 bring us. We'll see what Gill Alexander thinks about that. Maybe talk some tennis with him, some football, some baseball. Gill, we'll put him on the spot. He's got opinions on everything. So excited to talk to Gill. That is next. This is the Shoulda Bet More podcast. All right, we are back. We're going to get some instant reaction. Our next guest has a habit of just coming on after these crazy things happen, whether it's an unexpected draft a couple months ago, which I'm still recovering from. Last year, Minnesota, Denver, which was also a Sunday night. I don't know if this is as unexpected, but the Knicks win. It is now 2-1 Indiana. And to discuss all of it, Gill Alexander, a numbers game, beating the book, at beating the book on X, Twitter. Gilly, what's going on, man? Thanks for coming on. How surprised are you? Did you see this coming the whole way? The comeback? Are you stunned? What's your vibe here?
I had the Knicks. First of all, thanks for having me on. I had the Pacers. Pardon me. I had the Pacers. I was totally in the Reggie Miller camp the whole time. He kept emphasizing, I don't know. I kept telling you guys. You know how he says it. That run at the end of the first half that cut the lead from 20 to 13. That lesser heralded run that cut a 15-point lead with just over 3 minutes left to 10 by the end of the third quarter. And then within 4 minutes, the Knicks had taken the lead. I think from that point on, the Pacers only had a 1-point lead at most a couple times. And I felt like the Pacers played tight. I know the broadcast was giving the Knicks a lot of credit for their defense, but there was a lot of possessions where they're like, "Oh, what great shifts on D," and I'm like, no one wants to shoot the ball. Like Halliburton, all of a sudden, it was like he was like, I want to preserve my amazing legacy of games 1 and 2 and everything that came before that. I'm not shooting the ball. It was very strange to me. I didn't see it quite the same way that they did, but good on the Knicks. That was a tough one, man. I really felt like the Pacers played like a tight tennis player towards the end of a game that saw the finish line and couldn't get there.
Yeah, I mentioned this. I did the live bet show Sunday on Vs, and I mentioned the Pacers really, without having the stats at my disposal. I do know that the Pacers were over 40% from three going into the postseason, into this game throughout the entire postseason. It felt like they just haven't had a bad shooting game, and you know what? They were due for one. They finally had one. 5 of 25 from three, and to only get 25 attempts from three is not good for them. And the Knicks
Yeah.
at least got the volume, 11 to 32. So you say it all the time. I echo the sentiment. You know, turnovers in football, the 3-pointer in basketball. I mean, we can form our own narratives and talk about refs, which we'll get to here because the refs were just basically guessing at some points in that fourth quarter. I thought there was like a 4 or 5 minute stretch where they like didn't get one call right. And I don't even know who it favored. It was so bad. But sometimes it's as simple as, you know what? One team made 11 threes, the other team shot 5, and that's that.
That's that. That's all you need to know, really. If you give me that in every box score, I can pretty much tell you who won, 90% of the time. That thing about the refs is so true. Like, and I don't think it favored one team or the other. When McBride went up for that jam, Siakam totally didn't foul him, but there was added challenges, so that was a foul. Then they gifted Halliburton a couple free throws with 9 seconds left. That wasn't a foul. And Stan Van Gundy made everyone aware of that, how that was not a foul based on everything we've seen. I also the thing I think that bothers me the most about NBA refereeing, and it's a lot, but the thing that I think above all bothers me is you get a star player up to 4 fouls, and then they just refuse, right? They bend over backwards to give him a fifth or a sixth. It's just it's mind-boggling. And Cat probably should have been fouled out at some point. But that's just how the NBA is, man. They're really aware of the count for sure.
And these guys, I don't think they understand the challenge system. You get one challenge, I think a second challenge. I don't even know the challenges. You only get a couple. You don't get 13 challenges per half. These guys love to do the finger thing for every review. And Stan Van Gundy, I love Van Gundy. I think he's really good. I thought his brother was really good when he did the games. There was one time where Siakam fouled, I think it was Towns, and Van Gundy, and of course he's asking for a review. Van Gundy goes, "You fouled them 3 times. What are you asking for a review
Yeah,
for?"
that's right. Those players they lead with their hearts sometimes for
Yeah.
sure, rather than their head. What was I going to say? Oh, I think had this lead been maintained by the Pacers, let's say they end up winning this game and they end up winning it comfortably after all, they were up 20. By the way, 20, has that been the magic number or
Man,
what? God, it's like right at 20, you're like, oh no, not 20. Please make it 21 or 19 or something, but not 20, because that's always, it seems like in this, but that's the third 20-point lead the Knicks have erased and won games on this postseason. But had the Pacers held on, I was prepared to come on here and say, what in the world was that spread in this game? So I
yes,
think we don't do enough of this where we're honest with ourselves,
yes,
right? I was absolutely going to say, how was that only 2 or 1.5?
yep,
And I was going to make the point that I expected it to be about 4, right?
me too.
And 4 would have prevented me from playing the Pacers, right? 4 would have been just enough for me to be like, I don't know. But 2, and then later 1.5, I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm
I saw some ones.
absolutely playing them.
I saw some ones. Knicks got bet. The market loves these teams that are desperate for right or wrong. I mean, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I always say if everyone won their must-win games, nobody would ever get eliminated. So the must-win aspect gets overstated, but it cashed tonight for for better or worse. It did cash tonight.
Yeah, it's the must win. That narrative will get promulgated. It's also there was a lot of trends that favor the Knicks. Like if a team loses first 2 games at home, blah, 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 then they do this against the spread. But like, okay, well, we just had that in the zigzag in game 2. So now you're going to like re-up that in the third. It's like a lot of it's a bunch of confirmation
Sure.
bias but I do think that that's an interesting, I spoke about this with Fezzik earlier in the week, last week on a numbers game, which is, and I can't remember what the game was. Oh no, it was our contest at Veasan, which by the way, this loss tonight, not mathematically, but probably knocks me out of the sweepstakes here with 3 games left because I think now Fez has a 2.5 game lead over me.
That Fez.
That fucking guy. But Zach Cohen is breathing down his throat. I'm in third. But Zach Cohen's only 1 game back, so Zach could still take it from him. And I think Zach might have a tiebreaker over him, but that's confidential information. It's only you and me talking, right? Nobody's listening to this, right?
Unfortunately, not. No.
Yeah. So what was I going to say? Oh, so we were saying about the contest and how like the contest line will oftentimes be different than what the line closes at, right? The
Right.
actual line. And how books and or the contest, right? But like books can absolutely manipulate your betting behavior by it sounds obvious, but when you have a game like tonight, it really rings true, which is like, how was this only 2? How was this 1.5? And how my behavior would have completely changed had it just been 4, which I thought was way more appropriate, but clearly the market did not.
I don't have a feel for game 4. Pacers laying at 2.5 here. You don't do guessing lines in NBA, right? It's okay to reveal lines. I
Yes,
confirm.
it's
Okay.
that's
All right.
solely football. Sorry.
I've
Do you
been in
imagine? Do you imagine if I did that for everything? Like how Captain Annoying.
I said just on my open now, like I guess I would take the Knicks, but please don't bet based on what I'm hearing because these are just like guesses at this point. I really have lost the feel for this series, especially after tonight. We're going back to New York for game 5. I would imagine we at least get a game 6 here. So maybe we get a game 7. I don't know. Do you have any feel for game 4 or this series going forward, which has been a really crazy series? Good series, but a hard to predict series.
I mean, I think the Pacers should be favored by 2. I think that's about right, right? 2.5, somewhere in between the 2 and the 4. I just don't. I keep getting back to this because I know they kept saying, "Oh, the what defense? The Knicks played the best defense ever." I'm going to stick to my guns and say that the Pacers just got so tight. This stat right here. Did you hear this? They mentioned this at the end. You know how many points the Pacers scored in the second half?
I could probably do it, Mike. I'll say 38 or something.
42 points.
Okay, yeah, that's bad.
And the Knicks scored 36 in the fourth quarter alone. The Knicks had a 19-point edge in the second half. So I mean, where did that come from? It
Yeah,
was more than just missing shots. They just turned down shots a lot, I thought, on a lot of possessions also.
and this will be the last thing on this. And we can go to the West and some other stuff. I will say they were like I said, they were due for a bad game. If they were going to continue to play as they played, this was
Yes.
the 4 seed. I mean, this is not the 1 seed. This team did
Yeah.
not go, 75-7 in the playoffs. And I was thinking, what my open would be if the Pacers had won. And I was trying to think of a team that came out of nowhere, not just to win a conference, because we saw Miami do that. We've seen that, but to come out of nowhere and just completely blowtorch their opponents and upset everybody. Dallas in 2011 wasn't really, they swept the two-time defending champion Lakers. They killed that young, really good OKC team. That's the only comp I could think of. But they're not going to blowtorch everyone.
Well, Dallas, in retrospect, had a couple Hall of Famers on there, right? At least.
Yes.
Yeah. By the way, how great was that Dallas win? Um, yeah, I mean, at this point, I'm with you. At this point, if you said to me, who's winning this series, I'd probably say, well, I still think it's Indiana. I bet Indiana pre-flop, but I wouldn't be shocked at that was a game you had to close. That's a bad. Oh boy, I mean, because
Yep.
we talked about this. We texted about this earlier. You go up 3-0. No team in NBA history has ever come back from a 3-0 deficit in a best of seven. Only four teams have ever forced a game seven. Most recently, that Boston Celtics team against the Heat a couple years back, or a few years back, 2 years ago, two
Yep.
years ago. Um, so man, I don't know. And I kind of, as we segue to the other series, as you said you wanted to do, I kind of, that one I still feel like, okay, just like I feel like Indiana has the edge, obviously. They're up 2-1. I still feel like OKC has the edge in the other series, um, up 2-1. You know, the OKC obviously would have games 5 and 7 at home, whereas Indiana would only have 6 at home because they're the lower seed. So it's a little different. But like if you told me that T Wolves came back and made it a really long series and OKC had to play another 7 game series, I wouldn't be like completely shocked. And I was the guy a second ago who was like, I think both these series are short.
Yeah. Good for us though, especially bets aside, just from a content standpoint, the last thing you want to do
Oh,
is sit here with a 10, 11 day gap talking about a
bro.
finals, almost like a Super Bowl-esque gap. And especially if it was going to be like OKC, Indiana, where look, Indiana, good story, and maybe they win a game or two, but that's probably going to be OKC now. Look, it's 2-1. We could still get 2 5-gamers technically, and that's
We
that's
could.
still on the table. But I
Yep.
think we're at least looking at some longer series, at least from one of them. You would think goes to like 6+. So I don't know. Did you bet Game 4 in
I
in the West? No.
I haven't bet anything, No.
Yeah.
That was my last bullet in the contest for this round. This is my fifth pick, so I'm not even incentivized to bet it bet anything I'm picking because I'm not picking anything in the contest because I'm done. But I don't know. Like I don't have a. I'll probably wait once again till game 4 of this series of the Pacers series and probably fire on the Pacers again. That's probably my next bet. The Minnesota OKC series, at least on the spread, I don't think I've made a single play yet because I have no feel whatsoever. If you tell
Who?
me OKC blows them out in every game, I'd be like, yeah, sure, that happened. And if you tell me Minnesota wins games on their home court, same thing. I'd be like, it's basketball, you know.
Yep. Totally agree. Tennis. Who should we be betting here for the French Open? And to use the Todd Wishnev logic, can you give me only the winners, please?
Yes. I will tell you what my futures plays are because I'm going through the men's and women's. By the way, the clay numbers are firing very nicely right now. But the bets I made, and these are still should be available, even though the tournament has started, I think. Uh, I had bad numbers on Iga pre-draw. I bet her when she was just in short plus numbers after she had been minus 175 everywhere else. And I was like, oh my God, there's a stray plus number. This is the greatest thing ever. Then she drifted because she kept losing. And then she drifted, north of plus 200. And then when the draw came out, she was like plus 350. So my numbers stink. But I didn't add anything because her draw is That I believe that to be the hardest quarter I have seen in any draw in any slam in recent memory. But she did get a bit of a break, and I do mean a bit, like because it's still a gauntlet. Marta Kostyuk lost, got upset, so that's one player out in her quarter. But she's still got to play like after the first round. She's got to play Raducanu, and then her kryptonite Ostapenko is still in there. I mean, it's brutal. It's brutal. So I'm not confident in that. But the two plays I made on the men's side, I love, which is Q2. I have Francisco Cerundolo to win it at plus 550. Q3, I have Lorenzo Musetti to win it at plus 180. Cerundolo starts tomorrow. Musetti got his first round win today. I just think that the way that that draw broke, Sinners in Q1, Alcaraz in Q4, so those were always going to be the two other quarters were always going to be the quarters in question. Cerundolo has an out of form Zverev. He's got Joker, who just won his 100th tournament. I think Djokovic just entered Geneva so he could win his 100th, be the third person ever to do that. I think Cerundolo is a guy who 2 years ago he lost to Holger Rune in the fourth round, meaning the round of 16, in a fifth set tiebreaker, 10-7, and then last year he lost to Djokovic in the fourth round of 16, fifth set, a five setter. So he's a guy who has played well here before, and I think this is his breakout year. And then Musetti, honestly, you could make a case he's been like the third best player in tennis this year. And so the tennis hardos know that, but the sort of casuals do not. They wouldn't say that, but he has been, and he found something in Monte Carlo a few tournaments ago. So I think, and he was, by the way, the short shot for Q3, so the market knew it, but I don't think it's low enough. So that's who I played there.
Speaking of tennis and speaking of Todd Wishnev, I've had him on the podcast talking about his matches versus Steve Fezzik. You play Steve Fezzik all the time. I've had Fezzik on the pod. I haven't had him on in a while. I got to get him back on. He's playing hard to get lately. But can you set the record straight on the hierarchy here? There's a lot of trash talking going around.
Oh
Wishnev
yeah,
to
yeah, big
you
time.
to Fez. You and Fez kind of trade victories. What is the hierarchy? What's the situation here in terms of you, Wishnev, and Fezzik?
Okay, me and Fezzik don't trade victories. Let's get that straight first.
Okay.
Uh,
Why ask?
he beats me once in a while. He does. But I get the best of it. The hierarchy is Todd would be one. I would be two. Stevie would be three. I don't think any of us would disagree with that hierarchy. The point of contention is that Todd, when we used to play him, was around 2 bills
Yeah.
and change. Todd is now 3 bills and change, and still talks shit. And we believe, as much as we play, that there is no chance in hell at 3 bills he can beat either of us. And so that's the point of contention. And Todd, as a counter argument, says, I was in town one time. We played up to 21 once, and he didn't dominate, but he barely won both. And then the only other time he was in town, he was up 14-10 on Fez, and his back gave out. I don't mean to laugh, but it's like he sticks and jabs. He came into town, got himself a small sample thing, and now still says he's the best, which we don't agree with.
Fezzik has been on this quest to go under 200 pounds. I think from his perspective, he thinks if he basically, looks like Callista Flackhart, he's going to beat all of you guys. Is that the goal? Is that realistic?
He's a maniac. He's a maniac. The way he loses weight is so not how you lose weight. He fasts, and it's like this. And Todd just the king of losing weight, and then gaining it, but he knows about weight loss and weight fluctuation. That's just not how you do it, and I don't think it makes him a better tennis player. And I think Stevie has finally come to the conclusion, which he admitted. He's like, I can't try to hack the game. He's got to learn how to just be a better player. You know what he was doing last time to me? This is the truth. So we do this thing. We weren't serving, right? Somehow we got in this thing where we weren't serving anymore, which is stupid, by the way. But anyway, we do this thing where it's like, all right, fourth ball is live. And Stevie does this thing where he tries to manipulate the previous shot on the non-live shots, where he puts me in a bad position so he gets the best live shot to begin with. And he's such like any little possible fucking edge this guy can get, he tries for it. It's ridiculous. Finally, I was like, I'm not playing that ball. I'm not playing that ball. I'm not playing that ball. Like, because I'm like, it's the only way you can beat me, Stevie. Stop it.
Very interesting. All right, last one before we get you out of here. I asked you. You had me on a numbers game a couple weeks ago. I'm on every week, but I think I asked you, and I forget what you said specifically, but the Rockies, what number would you need to see where you actually took out your wallet, went up to the counter, or put it in your app and bet the over for season win totals?
You asked me this 2 weeks ago, I believe,
Yeah.
and my answer was 45.5 when you asked me.
Was it?
Yes. What
I
did you
thought
think?
I thought you phrased it in a way where, well, at this number, I wouldn't bet the under, but I don't think. And I was like, wow, you bet the over there. You're like, well, I don't know if I'd actually bet it.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm not racing to do anything. But since you asked the question, I mean, right now, what were we doing today? We were looking at they're in May alone, because I keep the May most wins thing. In May alone, they are, I want to get this right, minus 94 in run differential, I believe. So, like, that's May. May. They're minus 170 for the season, and we still have 5 games for them left in May. And the modern day record, yeah, it's minus 94. The modern day record is what the 1932 Red Sox, who are minus 350 something, I believe, or something like that, minus whatever it was. Um, they're like on pace to go minus 500 and something, to shatter it. And they're on pace to win. What did we say earlier? What is it? 20, again,
27 point something games,
yeah,
28
yeah,
games.
27 and a half games currently. We thought the White Sox of last year was the worst thing we'd ever see. This team makes that team look spectacular. And I don't think there's any help coming. They're 4-19 in this month with a minus 94 run differential. Now the thing is they did manage to win a game recently, and they almost won today, I guess. But I don't know, man. Like, imagine being on that team. And forget May, but are you kidding me? Like, as the All-Star game approaches, and then after the All-Star game, can you imagine how long those 2.5 months take for that kind of team? Oh, every day to have to go knowing you're going to just lose or suck. You're just playing for your numbers. It's like, it's just terrible. So I don't know. The answer to your question is, at this point, 35 and a half?
Yeah. I wouldn't want to bet under 35 and a half, but again, to actually take out the wallet or go into your app and say, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to bet the over 35. I don't think I would bet over. And plus, Dolander is a good prospect. The kid from Tennessee, he pitched well his last couple times. He's on the IL. They're going to relievers. We're not that far from the trade deadline. I guess 6 weeks from relievers, outfielders, these little spare parts, Kyle Freeland being traded, and they're going to get worse. And they're in a ballpark that accentuates scoring and emphasizes the gap, accentuates the gap between the bad teams and the good teams. And it's just tough. It's really bad. I mean, really think we could be looking at like 33, 34 wins. I really don't think that's impossible. I really don't.
It occurs to me there's people listening to me who are like, wow, you really 35 and a half? Of course they're going to win 36 games. Nobody only wins 36 games. The part of that, and maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. Maybe that is the case. Maybe they do get to 36, 37 wins. Maybe they even get to 40. But the point is that could you imagine having to live through that bet? Imagine doing that to yourself. Like, why did I make this bet? Why make myself have to care every night about what this team did? This is what I can't think of a worse thing to do to yourself than that.
It's such a good point, too. And we're going to get some ridiculous lines. I mean, I remember it was maybe a week or so ago. Arizona was like 21-19, was a $4 favorite over them. This is not like the 27 Yankees or the 98 Yankees or
No.
I'll throw you a bone. The 2014 Giants, 2012 Giants.
Well, thank you. Thank you for putting it in terms I can understand.
Yes.
The Giants had a game against the Rockies where they were $4
Right.
this year already. Yeah.
Insane. And we're not talking about Dodgers in August or, some of these good teams. I mean, we're probably going to see some. I know we'll see some minus 500s. We'll probably see some minus 600s. Like, how high can you go?
And now that's a different question, because if it was a one game thing, that I would bet the Rockies on,
Yeah.
right?
No, I agree.
Yeah, that's a different. You could definitely make a price where I'll be like, wait, $5 for the Rockies? Sure, why not?
Well, I'm saying their opponent will be minus 5 for sure.
Yeah.
Here's a good question. We'll end on this. Will we see their opponent be a minus 600 favorite this year?
No, I don't think the books have the gumption to do that.
Okay. Keep an eye on it.
Yep.
I'm going to hold you to that.
Gumption, by the way. I didn't think I'd say that word today, but there you go. I don't think we'll get quite to 6. What's we went through this like earlier in the year.
We did, but I forget.
There was an Astros
Yeah,
game when
2017 in like September or something, but I forget. I can look it up.
they were -5 something,
Yeah.
but nobody ever got to 6. No,
This
at
might
least
be
till now.
uncharted. This might be uncharted territory. We might get there.
Yeah.
All right, Gilly, this was awesome. A numbers game. Where else? Beating the book megapod. Where else can we find you?
Nowhere now. I mean, that's it. It's summertime. You'll find me in San Francisco chilling.
All right,
We're
man.
on a numbers game or on the podcast. That's it.
Always fun, man. Appreciate you coming on. Thanks.
Thank you, brother.
All right, that'll do it. Enjoy your Memorial Day. We'll be back Wednesday. Plenty to discuss. Rate, review, subscribe. See you then.